have a go here. Sends it deep, deep on the brakes, and it's actually going to be Brian that lets him have it. So it's going to be Daniel Harris that leads us back to lap number 2 and down the backstretch for the second time. This is Paul Brian maybe saving a little bit of fuel, trying to extend the life of these tires a lot further. Yellow flags out for the first time tonight. Car at the tail end of the field is
at least it looks like Jeremy Bush and might have pushed Alan Hodgkinson off the road as well. Quick action replay thanks to DSL Welding Services.
I don't think they knew there was free wide there.
No, that has caused quite a decent crash. So did they make it through that first lap?
They did. They survived the first lap. That's lap number 2 coming down to turn number 1 for lap number 2. So
well done, guys. That's a great improvement over the first season, over the first round.
That's who's inside. I'm actually curious. So they were 3 wide in the middle of the pack trying to sort themselves out coming through there. Taker's on pit lane. No one's actually come down for a splash top up of the fuel. If I'm at the tail end of the field here, I'm going a splash of fuel. So.
Oh, would you pull in now and get a bit of a splash and dash while you've got the time?
I mean, there's no reason not to. You're already at the back end of the pack, so that's already where it is. So it's actually Miles Burgess that is actually on the inside of Jeremy Bush. And he actually wasn't there. He sort of had his nose there. He got a lot of damage from lap number 1. So a lot of things have happened to Miles Burgess. Things haven't gone his way.
No, definitely not. There was we saw about 4 or 5 guys get caught up in that little incident, which, you know, if it was further to the front of the pack, we probably could have had a complete and utter field wipeout with an incident like that. Bounce off the wall and straight back into the field, so tricky racing.
It's actually really tricky to get these cars. So I went back and had a look at where the damage from Miles Burgess actually came from. It's not actually from the incident with Jeremy Bush. It's actually from the initial jump. So these cars, the trucks are very, very difficult to get rolling. Don't have a lot of traction initially. They can kick sideways. That looks like that's the case with Jeremy Bush. That's actually where the damage from Miles Burgess came from. He just sort of got a really, really good launch and wasn't really sure. He's actually ended up making contact with the rear bumper of Glenn McLeod. McLeod was having a great run. McLeod actually got loose actually off of turn 4 as well, so we checked up Jeremy Bush, and that's what enabled the overlap, because it looked like it was a really weird incident, sort of actually a multi-layered incident. This is something Racing Tosco should have a look at.
Worth going back and have a quick look live on streaming?
May as well. We've got a caution. That's the benefit.
We do have a caution. So we can probably
have a look at the run here. If you actually,
a little bit.
Yeah, have a look at Glenn McLeod is that blue car up ahead with the 84 on the side of it. Very loose, car's a little bit sideways coming off the turn before. Jeremy Bush is trying to look after himself. Remember what I said, keep yourself alive into that late race. So he just checks up a little bit, Burgess gets underneath him. I don't think Bush expected him to be there, and that's just what it is.
That is oval racing for you, isn't it?
I mean, they were 3 wide there. It's quite tricky, and I mean, I don't think Burgess knew that he was 3 wide as well, because he's only got the nose in there. The iRacing spotter and the way that all that works is it really sort of calls it when you specifically are 2 to 3 wide with somebody else. So if your nose is only alongside one other car, and that car's got a car to the outside of his nose, he knows that he's 3 wide, he knows that he's got a car underneath his rear bumper and a car on the outside of his front bumper, but nobody else will know that they're 3 wide.
Oh, right. I did try and do a bit of oval racing again.
Oh, here we go. This should be good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good. I used to do quite well in the Dragonrc Cup, and then for some reason, I don't know, I think it was my setup. Every time I turned a little bit left, my whole car would just want to leave the track. Yeah, I kept blaming cold tires too, so.
Indy cars actually suffer from cold tires quite a lot. Stock cars is not necessarily cold tires they really suffer from. It's more the rear will rotate on cold tires, whereas Indy cars tend to push or get really aero tight. Another great one from Ben Harris.
Alright, we are back and the restart is underway. We are lap 7 of 100 after a small incident at the start of lap 2. You're going to try and Pete on board with as many of these cars as possible so we can see everything that's happening across the grid. Try and keep an eye on all the action tonight.
We got cameras everywhere. We got them in the sky, man. That one's hanging off the bottom of Winter Shore.
Oh, this is my favourite chopper cam.
That's the fastest drone in existence. Fastest lap of the race, Daniel Harris is actually just on the 29.471. So remember what I said at the very beginning? You want to look after these guys, you want to conserve them. Harris isn't. He's just going for it. He's a long way off the track.
He's trying to make up for that quitting out on us last week, right?
He must have heard the commentary you said, the things you said about him. But, that's going to play on his mindset tonight. How does he set himself up? How does he approach the racing? I said to him, look, man, he come in and he asked me for a couple tips prior to the race tonight. And I said, look, it's all about tyre conservation. There's a slow car actually at the back end of the pack. I noticed somebody going back.
Good evening, Sim Racing World, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the DSL Welding NAS trucks for round 7 of our American Invasion. Tonight, our drivers have made the 15-hour trip from Eldora Raceway to end up at Daytona International. We can only hope that they are all well rested for our race tonight. I am Nathan Shibby Howard, and joining me, as always, is our encyclopedia of everything oval racing, Scotty Rank. The sun, the sand, and the roaring noise of NAS trucks. How's your excitement level tonight, Scotty?
Huh? What? There's a race on? I've been at the beach all day. There's Daytona International Airport, everything about the Daytona International Speedway. It's all sand, sun, it's everything fantastic. All the best parts about America, really. Tonight, a first ever taste from Sim Racing World's Super Speedway calendar. The only Super Speedway calendar that's on the schedule this time around. Why? I wanted to give these guys a little bit of a taste of it. I wanted to measure how they're going to handle the circumstances, because Super Speedway racing, you'll have a look at it tonight and you go, but Scott, this is just holding your foot to the floor. Yeah, actually it is. It's actually the simplest track in terms of driver inputs throughout the entire season. But what it takes away in terms of driver inputs, it makes up in other complex features. Have a look at that pack that's just surging through the back of that camera shot. It's all about draft packs here tonight. There's no tire wear. Tires won't be a factor at any stage throughout the piece here this evening. Not going to matter whatsoever. What will matter is being able to bump draft correctly, being able to form up, get in line, hold the line, be smooth, and making sure that when you've got to run, you take it somewhere at the right time. You there, Mr. Shibby?
Yeah, sorry. I'm here, mate. I'm here. Just double checking that everything is good. Now, sounds good. Got to make sure the broadcast is sounding great for everybody out there. I'm sorry, mate. I've always got a few checks that I need to do before I get going. That's why I sort of hand it off to you and I just let you go for it, mate.
Hey, this is where I get to unload.
Get to unload? Keeping that in your pants, right, mate?
What? No. What I was going to say is, like, nobody likes sitting down and flipping through an encyclopedia to read it. So I've got to get these short little bursts of information out, such that I can shut up for a bit and then come back with another one.
Oh.
You want your big ones? You'll get big ones here tonight.
That is what I am looking forward to tonight, is a few of those. Maybe a couple of those. Maybe some...
Just one of those.
Oh, mate, I could... Highlight packages, buddy. Highlight packages. NASCAR. Nobody wants to see drafting or nice, smooth overtakes.
Okay. Hang on. You say nobody wants to see drafting. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to tell you to shut the stream down, because Daytona... So this is a super speedway format of racing. Now, what I said a couple of weeks ago when we were at Pocono, there's a couple of 2.5-mile tracks on the schedule. There's a couple in particular that are completely different to everything else. There is Daytona and there is Talladega. To anyone who's seen Talladega Nights, it is foot to the floor, the fastest that these cars will be doing all season long. They actually call it restrictor plate racing. Why? Because restrictor plates were had to be added to the engine, I believe in the 2000s, early 2000s, 90s, somewhere around there. At some point, these cars' engine capacities had to be restricted, because when they were going to the super speedway races, the cars were doing excessive speeds. It was causing rollovers, the aerodynamic effects, and the accidents were huge. And sadly, we ended up losing probably one of the most well-known American stock car drivers' lives, and that was Dale Jr. Luckily enough, his son Dale Earnhardt Jr. still races from time to time. Did make a big wave in the Cup Series. Never actually won a championship, even though I actually might have. I don't know enough Dale Earnhardt history to be perfectly clear with you, but yeah, look, it's dangerous. If you want that fuel smell filled element of danger, you've got it. This is the most dangerous racing that you can get in America. They had to take steps to remove that, and one of those was by adding restrictor plates. So now the cars are a little bit slower, but what that does is it packs them up a lot.
That's what we want to see, a bit of pack racing. Is that what you were talking about last week, that this is going to be one of the best for seeing serious pack racing?
Your winners tonight, generally what happens in a Daytona race is if it's green flag when it crosses the finish line, is most of your field would be covered by less than 5 seconds. And I'm talking like 80% of the field would be covered by less than 5 seconds.
That's close. That's very close.
These races have quite often been decided by less than a blink of an eye.
Well, let's hope for some NASCAR overtime.
I mean, that's what you're here for.
Oh.
And this series has delivered the last couple of weeks with it, hasn't it, too?
Oh,
it's been absolutely intense. It's been kept me on the edge of my seat. I've been really, really impressed with some of the skill that's been on display. I want to say a big shout out to the Man Up Sim Racing crew who have been, and Velocity, who've done a phenomenal job. They've been putting a lot of time and effort in behind the scenes. Paul Bryan's been the standout driver for those guys, but doesn't matter. Those guys have been putting a lot of work to get better. They actually booked themselves a Scotty Rankin masterclass about half an hour ago. So I've been sitting in with those guys, giving them little tips and tidbits on how to get better and go faster at Daytona International Speedway.
A Scotty Rankin masterclass. Listen to this guy. Who does he think he is? Does he think he's racing in some big league with all the best drivers in the world or something?
In these cars? No.
Yeah.
In Indy cars?
In Indy cars, indeed.
So what you're going to see here, we've talked about this in terms of qualifying a few times. Hayden Norris actually needs to be up against that wall on his warm-up lap. The first lap at Daytona, the truck gets a couple of kilometers an hour extra speed coming to the white line to start their second flying lap by driving it out and around the wall. Now, what he'll do is he'll actually be one of the fastest cars to get back to the start-finish line to complete his lap. But the problem is, it's a 2-lap qualifying session. It's not a 1-lap qualifying session. If it was, the line that he took is, it's close, it's not great. He swung high a little bit, he was trying to open the corners up a little bit. It's all about minimizing track distance. Swings up to the wall there, that's probably 3 1,000ths lost. And did he lose a little momentum on the way back up there? Now he's going to get back to the bottom of the track. It's going to be, that's going to be basically 100th of a second lost. And when you come to Daytona International Speedway, qualifying is generally decided by thousandths of a second. And I'm talking by 1 to 2 thousandths of a second if these guys win.
Well, it's going to be exciting. I do look forward to it. We've
He's missed it. He's bailed out.
We've already got Peter Morris dropping into our Facebook chat, and he's upgraded himself to some triples, and he has the cold wine in the tall glass next to him. So hopefully he doesn't have to get up for too many drink runs.
Yeah, look, the sipometer over at Peter Morris is going to be running a lot higher than it has the last few weeks. So good job to him. He's obviously learned a lot from the Dirt Oval outing that we had last week. He's learned to get the bottle of wine and everything sitting right next to the rig. So that's less time in a pit stop. So whilst the crew's changing tyres, he doesn't have to jump out of the rig, sprint across the house, grab the bottle of wine, chuck that back in the rig right as they're bolting the tyres back on, ready for him to roll away. So he's learned. He's looking for extra pace in little ways outside the sim.
Smart thinking, because we think actually one of his sipometer breaks sort of might have made him run a bit of a muck last week. Yeah, he just replied, Ken Othan sure did.
and look, that's been the gauge of the drivers that I've talked to as well. We said it last week, and I think the post-race show that we did last week really summed up the league. In terms of things, I'm actually incredibly happy with how this is gone. It's not the be all, the end all, and the best standards in terms of truck racing, but that's not what it set out to be. It was designed to be this entry level league where I could go in and I could talk to a few of these drivers, adjust the driving style here. If you use a little bit more brake, if you shift the brake bias in this manner, it's going to create this feeling in the car. Or you're just overdriving a corner entry, just back that up a little bit, be a little bit smoother. And TC's guys had to work tires better and those sorts of things. Overall, I would have to say, season so far, A+. I'm very, very happy with everyone.
Oh yeah, mate, hands down. As a new series that we got on board and thought we'd give it a go, it has done extremely well. And again, it's great to see all the guys that have never driven the NAS trucks before or had much experience on over get out here and over 7 rounds they've really extremely improved, and the racing has just gotten better and better and way more exciting to watch.
This is just Paul Bryant. He's just getting a little bit of practice on the line. He's probably going to dive on a pit lane here. So if we get a green flag, no, he's going to do another lap. So it's all about diving a pit lane. The benefit of Daytona is you've got this really, really wide pit lane entry. I strongly, strongly hope that we actually get a green flag pit stop tonight, because it is one of the most unique things that you'll ever see. As you come into pit lane, it's all flat. The guys just spread. The whole field scatters. Everyone's looking for a clean lane such that they can focus on their own braking and not trying to avoid somebody ahead of them who's maybe pulled up a little bit too soon. It's one of the prettiest things in NASCAR to see. It's just beautiful, and there is nothing like it, seeing a pack of 15 cars come to pit lane. If you guys have ever interested in seeing some of that, go and Google NASCAR green flag pit stop Daytona 2020, 2021. Any of these races where they come here, you just see the guys, particularly for the last round of green flag stops, it's the Ford, the Toyota, and the Chevy teams. They'll all come down as a manufacturer because they want their cars to be all winning together, and they want their teammates to all be winning. So Daytona creates a special feeling. It's the stock car version of Bathurst. It really, really is.
So with that, we probably could see a lot of chaos coming into the pits too then.
Potentially, because you get it wrong. Remember, we've talked over the last couple of weeks that these things don't really have brakes in the same format that most normal cars would actually have brakes. So, and the downshifts on these things, you've got to really heel and toe it to get it right. To absolutely maximize it, I can't heel and toe. So I'm using an iRacing feature known as the auto clutch or auto blip. So I've got to be really easy on the downshift. So what you actually want to do is you want to just leave it in 4th gear a fair while. And then once it's down well below the threshold before you can shift into 3rd gear, you would shift back to 3rd gear. So you're only picking up fractionally small amounts of engine braking. The reason for that is if you downshift too soon, it diff locks the rear, you spin on the pit lane entry, race over, you get yourself either a black flag for an unsafe pit lane entry, black flag for speeding on pit lane entry, a whole bunch of these different format things that actually can happen. So it's tricky. The other thing is, for the guys who haven't practiced pitting from the pack, they're in trouble. They are in big, big trouble, because you've got to tell the guys, you've got to make sure that you practice getting into that bottom lane. If you are coming to pit lane and you're in the top lane and there's a pack of cars behind you, you're dead. You and the whole field are dead. You've got to sort yourself out. You've got to find a groove or a slot within that bottom line. You've got to get yourself down there. Then you've got to get the car stopped. And that's all before we've actually even turned on pit lane. Then you've got to pick out the pit lane man. You've got to get in there without sliding the tires. You've got to not skip through your pit lane stall. All of these things can go wrong. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Don't bring me up on screen.
Bring your face up, mate. All right, we got a few comments. J-Max giving shit to Steven about so Steve dropped in and said, "Evening ladies, love that sound." J-Max gone ahead and said the guy commenting above is a little soft for not racing. Stephen has agreed, and Peter Morris has just chimed in and said it's probably the best league he's raced in. So we're so pleased to hear that, mate. And we're having a lot of fun also being able to broadcast this and commentate. So keep it up, and it could be back for a season 2, which would be absolutely awesome. I think
it's locked in.
More dirt.
When they was sort of starting to start the conversation about what series and whatnot to be run next season, we were looking at the series numbers and the drivers that are entered and everything. NASCAR's never came up as one of the series we might change for something else. Never even considered. It was one of the first, alongside your V8 Supercars, your Porsche Cups, and those sort of series. NASCAR was locked in straight away. So that says how much fun we're having and how much good it is, how good it really is. So.
Awesome. Well, we have finished qualifying. It sort of went dead there. There was a few guys that didn't even run any laps, so interesting to see why they chose to do that. I think it was Evan Horst.
I can tell you straight away. So effectively,
the Dano didn't get.
What they're trying to do is they want to run themselves at the back. So NASCAR has this thing known as the big one. It's when we get that big wreck. It's the big one. We shorten things like the Melbourne Cricket Ground to the MCG or just the G. They shorten the big old wreck with everyone involved in it to just the big one. So what it's about for the guys that are trying to run at the back of the pack, A, fuel saving. B, if they're the last car in queue, they can start braking a lot earlier than everyone else the instant they see a puff of smoke. So, and they've got a lot more control over their own destiny. The benefit is, if you're the lead car in the pack and the big one happens, you're ahead of it. It's all happening in your rear view mirror. But if you get a pusher you don't like, or somebody who's not cut square with your rear bumper, you can be the kickoff of the big one. 2 fast repairs tonight, so ultimately these drivers, should they get involved in something like that, make their way back around a pit lane, get that fast repair, they're back in it. So that's all important.
Oh, mumbling to myself. Here we go. I've gone back into producer's mode where I start mumbling to myself. Oh my gosh, Eddie. Eddie with the 100 stars sent. Thank you so much out there on Facebook, mate. You would be our 2nd star sender since we have had our stars. So we are now a level up creator on Facebook. And Eddie, thank you so much, mate. What a legend. Thanks for dropping in too, not just for the stars. Thank you so much for dropping in. I'm going to give a huge shout out to everybody out there joining us tonight. Thank you so much. As the night goes on, if you do enjoy our broadcast, please let us know by hitting that like, follow, and subscribe buttons and leaving some comments for us. Let us know who you're bidding to win tonight, who your favourite livery is. Hit Mr. Encyclopedia up with many questions. We need to get him answering some questions that you guys might want to know.
If you're interested in getting involved in NASCAR or any of those sorts of questions, where do you start? How do you start running on iRacing? All of those sorts of questions. That's what we're here to answer. You know, I've had the benefit. I had when I first started, I had a lot of American guys that were teaching me how to race, and in particular teaching me how to race NASCAR. So I had a little bit of an understanding of circuit already and some of the rules around that. NASCAR's got its own specific rules. Always happy to answer questions. Find me on Discord. Find me in the streams. Anything like that, just ask away. Always happy to answer. A bit like Google.
Alright, so we completely missed our grid. So we had Tom Neal qualifying P1, Paul Bryan 2nd, Glenn McLeod 3rd, Braden Martin 4th, Peter Morris in 5th with his Sippo-meter ready to go. Darren Parameter in 6th, Riley Jones 7th, Luke Jorgensen 8th, Aaron Hayden 9th, Dano Harris 10th, George Minus 11th, John McHenry 12th, Jeremy Bush 13th. No, wait, that just swapped. Dylan DeBono 13th, Jeremy Bush 14th, Hayden Norris 15th, Leon Williams 16th, Evan Horswell 17th, Gary Redcliffe 18th, Nathan J. Allen in 19th, and Chris Thornton in 20th. So we do have 20 cars.
Pole times as well. Pole position was a 52.099 for Tom Neal. 4/1000th of a second back to Paul Bryan, who started on his outside. Third was a 130. 4th, 5th, and 6th were 147, 151, 153. So 4/1000th of a second separated P3 to P5. That's fantastic.
Super close between them. We have gone green, mate, so let's get this race going.
So Tom Neal's got a long way out in front on this initial jump here, which means he got a really, really good getaway. But the benefit now is that top line it's a lot closer already, a lot more formed up. The more cars that are in a line, the faster that line will move. So if you see a few guys in this top lane go, oh, there's a spot down in that bottom lane, I want to nip in there, it's actually faster for them to do so, and the top group may slowly peter out. But eventually, throughout the race, if you've got to run, you've got some momentum, you have to take it somewhere. Really interesting to see as well. None of these guys are going to bump draft. Oh! Is that Georgie Minus as well that got involved in that?
Looked like there was 3 guys involved with that, mate.
George, I think unluckiest man in iRacing, I've got to say.
had a bit of a rough run the last couple of weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah, he just can't get himself settled, and if something's happening out on track, he just happens to find a way to be around it when it happens. Like I said at the start of the season, I think I said that was Peter Morris, actually. But you know what happens is when you get a bigger wine glass in your next right.
A few too many wines and... Oops.
You don't have a few too many wines if you only had one.
Well, my doctor said 1 glass of wine a day, so I made sure my glass of wine holds 4 litres.
Mate, that's an entire wine sack. That's.
I know, mate. I grew up in Australia. What do you expect? One night of drinking wine, you need 4 litres, all right? That's how it is. And then you got a pillow to sleep on afterwards.
At least hook it up to the veins. Just go intravenous. Just skip the mouth.
Yeah, just completely skip it completely. Do it Homer style.
Drinking, consuming it through your mouth only wastes time.
Yeah, and energy. And energy.
I'm done. Lap 2 and I'm done. Lap
Mate, do you want to
3,
get
I'm
back
done.
to the racing or something? Do you want to talk about the boys on track right now instead of sinking goon sacks in Australia? Supposed to be a professional outfit here, mate. I don't know what's happened to you tonight.
I think it's too many glasses of wine.
You've had too many glasses of wine. You are over at Pete's house, are you?
I'm completely stone cold sober, and yeah, I've had too many glasses of wine, I think. Anyway, so if you have a look at the ebb and flow that you're actually seeing here, what you'll actually notice is that for a little while there, Paul Bryan he got a huge shove from Braden Martin, or Braden Martin lifted a little bit and got a long way out and away from him. So that's why they actually went slower. Braden's going to get abandoned here. So Paul Bryan just got shoved. He got a run, got to the inside. First caution of the night for sure.
There we go. Beautiful. Let it go,
so
boys.
That's.
Oh no, it was Mr. Peter Norris. What's he done? Right.
Good news. There's time to fill up the sipper meter.
Yeah, Pete, go get your sipper meter filled up. Anybody else that needs to grab a drink, go right ahead and do that right now. We're going to get a replay of what happened there. There was
so what effectively happened, I can tell you straight away before we even have a look at the replay. Paul Bryan gets a run. He gets a huge shove from Braden Martin. He clears the cars to the inside, and then he says, I want to control this inside pack, which is exactly what he does. As he comes down, he checks up that lane. The guy that's second in position, which I think was Tom Neal, had to back off the throttle a little bit. Glenn McLeod didn't actually see, because when you're in the cockpit of Glenn McLeod, you've got no vision. He checks up. Peter Morris is then, you get this accordion effect. Everyone's checking up a fraction later than they need to, and it just that margin keeps extending. Peter Morris recognizes at the absolute last moment that he's got to bail out of the throttle. He goes to the middle. A little bit of netcode, I think, gets involved, which forces them back together.
Oh gosh, so close. Bumper to bumper racing.
Yep, there's nothing in that. Absolutely nothing in that.
It's just absolute bumper to bumper racing. I was really surprised. Everybody was doing really well and was running nice and smooth. Goes to the commentator, I think. Some
people will sit down and say that's an aggressive move by Paul Bryan, and it is. Look, it is. But that's super speedway racing. If you've got to run and you know that you're faster, to be perfectly honest, Paul's got 2 opportunities here. He also knows that Braden Martin's actually giving him a really good push, and Braden's a phenomenal pusher. So if I'm looking for allies up and down the field, which you need to win one of these races, first and foremost, I want Braden Martin behind me. So if there's anyone out there and they see an opportunity to slot in just ahead of Braden Martin right now, I'd be doing so. Why? He's just proven himself a couple times that he can shove his drafting partner to the lead. Great job, Braden Martin. Great driving. Phenomenal. It is a fantastic skill. You need to have that skill to be a good draft super speedway restrictor plate racer. You have to be a good pusher. If you're not a good pusher, you'll never be successful. He's going to make allies all night long, which means coming to the last lap, if somebody's sitting behind him and he's at the front of the row, they won't necessarily try and step out of line and take that position away from him. because he's pushed them all night long. Occasionally, Braden Martin will get that support when he needs it. Great move. Paul Bryan, he's just ticked off a few people. Tom Neal, no longer a Paul Bryan supporter. He's going to look for any opportunity to abandon him whenever he can. It's about making friends. You make your friends, you make those alliances, and then you cash them in the last couple laps of the race.
Speaking of alliances and the total opposite of that board, NASCAR is pretty the word for it, pretty brutal when it comes to ticking people off on the track, right? There's been some serious outcomes from little incidents that have run across seasons and seasons where it's ended up in massive incidents.
Feuds.
Yeah, like,
and
it's
generally
crazy.
what you'll hear the drivers say on the radio is, "I'll remember that," and they will remember it.
Oh yeah,
and they won't
then,
pay.
like
they
half
won't
a
pay you
season
back.
later.
Not even half a season later. There are guys who have sat on something for multiple seasons. The guy, I can't remember if it was Mark Martin, but there was one guy that basically he'd been sitting on a feud for about 5 years. The guy he'd feuding with finally got himself into a playoff circumstance, a chance where he was fighting for the championship at the tail end of the season. Went and dumped him in the race just before the championship when he was looking set like he might be able to win the championship, have it all won. Yeah, it does come back to bite you over seasons. That's just that's the culture that they run with. They love it. If you have a look at the race that was on from the Next Gen series or NASCAR Cup series, that was racing on the weekend at a track called Gateway or Worldwide Technology. Both names are interchangeable, effectively, different nicknames for the track based upon who owned it at different points in time. An incident with one of the drivers happened with another driver, and then the same driver dumped another driver again. Well, both of those guys got an opportunity to pay him back 3/4 of the race later as it was starting to go towards the tail end of the race. Basically, one guy dumped him going on a late race restart down into turn number 1. The other driver was 5-6 laps off the pace. He just cut him off as he was coming out of the corner, so he had to lift out of the throttle and then blocked him for 4 laps.
Oh.
And nearly got him ejected from the race because NASCAR has you have to meet a minimum speed rule, and he was running right up against the time clock to make that minimum speed.
Because he was blocked by another driver.
Yep.
Wow.
So NASCAR have a rule that you get 6 minutes from the instant that you first come down pit lane to repair your car. You have to meet a minimum or a maximum lap time. You have to come in underneath that maximum lap time. Similar to Formula 1 where they had the 7% rule. If you went under that 7% of the leader's time, you weren't actually eligible to enter the race. It was in the 90s before they did away with that. Same sort of thing with NASCAR, except they do it in the middle of the race.
That's crazy. All right, we are back, and safety car has left, and we are back and racing. And you can see these guys starting to bunch up. We got a couple there sitting, 4 rows back, trying to sit 3 wide. And is this where you were saying they're trying to side draft each other and try and push each other off those drafting lines?
Yeah, so effectively, we'll talk about side draft a lot. Have a look at Braden Martin. Braden Martin's returned the favour to Paul Bryan. Okay, so Paul Bryan abandoned Braden Martin. Well, Braden Martin's already had the opportunity to come down and slot himself in the lead. Martin's been quite close to getting a lot of podiums throughout the season. We're talking just about feuds that go season to season. Well, these guys will have the opportunity to pay this one back out in the middle of the race.
Be good to see. I'd actually be excited to see Braden get his podium. I think he's definitely deserved it.
He's earned it.
Yeah,
he's definitely deserved it. Yeah, so he's been good enough. His luck just hasn't fallen his way. He's lost speed at crucial moments during the race. It's potentially, and then picked it up again a lap or 2 later, and by that time it's over. So anyway, keep your eyes on the outside grind. If Darren Parmenter and Glenn McLeod can get hooked up, so see right now, right underneath the rear bumper. I was talking to Paul Bryan quite heavily. You want to know how to push guys, how to draft, how to bump draft. There's a few different methods to drafting in these things. First and foremost, you just sit in a line. And you don't really try and push the guy. You don't get close up to the car behind you. Just sit there, just in the pack. What you're actually not doing is you're not pushing the car ahead of you, but you're getting pulled along by him. Then you have 2 different forms of push drafting. Number 1, you have air bubble drafting. With these cars, a small air pocket, a small, heavy air pocket that doesn't want to be broken, forms between the front spoiler of the trailing car and the rear bumper of the leading car. You can push that along, but air, it's sort of squidgy, moves out of the way a lot. You lose a little bit of that momentum. Dylan DeBono, give me a sec.
can't really fill in for what Scott was saying, but we'll go from here, and we've got some. Oh, what's happening with car number 3? What?
So I've just called that one out on the in race radio. Passing below the yellow line, it's an exterior.
Ah, okay.
That's
So
the NASCAR rule.
the Dylan DeBono has had to drop. He essentially has been given a hold penalty, right? So he's had to.
I've jumped onto it, so I've actually jumped in very early there and said, "Hey, that's out of bounds. The yellow line is what's considered out of bounds.
Okay.
You cannot pass or cannot move your position forward under that yellow line. Why? Is because when you get to the corners have got banking. It's not passing around. There's no banking down there on the apron. So what you'll do is you'll just cut straight across the field. If you can't fall back into the traffic, you'll just cut straight across the field and take everyone out.
Just had to do a quick sound test, sorry, mate.
All right. You're well.
All right, Stephen.
Oh, shoes rack!
Oh, I've missed it. All right, let's get All right, looks like Mr. Peter Morris has gone off track. I wonder if that's where it started. Did you get a good eye on where that started then, mate?
I did not see that one.
I'm gonna go back. Yes, this looks like where it started. Let's get a quick rewind. There is a massive wreck in there. There is a few cars that have ended up doing barrel rolls down. Okay, so it looks like car 99 and Peter Morris. Yeah, it looks like they're possibly both involved in that.
Go back again. I need to see that one again.
It's not Peter Morris. It's the After Dark sim racing car there.
Yeah, it's the car just ahead. Yeah.
Who is that? Car number 21.
That's not 274 of Luke Georgeson.
I think it's Aaron Hayden.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, it's 21.
Oops, and I hit the live button. Jeez, good work, me. After I all that effort to find who it was. Excuse us while we just do a little bit more rewinding again. Okay, Aaron Hayden. Let's get on with this one. Get this view, and then let's have a look.
Oh, some late dive to pit lane. We just missed it. We're gonna have to go back and watch that.
Oh, okay. So Aaron Hayden looked like he was bump drafting the car in front, which has actually then caused him to
disappear completely.
Swerve off the track a little bit. So the car in front that got sent.
So what's happened is Riley's popped out of line, right? He's got a car ahead of him, and look at that. The After Dark car has got no visibility whatsoever. So I did actually hear Riley on the in-race radio get a little bit upset about that. He's sort of been forced out of the way out of that one. The car that's trailing him, he's got no visibility. You can't, when you're packed up in these things, you can only see the car directly ahead of you. That's it. You can only see his rear splitter. You get a great view of what his window looks like at the back end of the car too.
So you said there was a bit of chaos on the pit entering, hey?
Yeah, there was a couple guys that dived into the pit lane really, really late. So Braden Martin left it up until one of the last moments to dive into pit lane, because it's sort of, you want to keep control of the pack. So you want to go back to the pit lane entry, all the way back, right at the entry. And you want to keep your eyes on Paul Bryan. He's noticed that Braden Martin's diving into the pit lane. And have a look how late Paul Bryan makes his pit lane entry.
Oh, gosh, you can see it there.
Yep. Can you give me a far chase angle of Paul Bryan? Do I stay out? Am I staying out here? Am I coming for fuel? Am I staying out? Am I coming for fuel? Am I staying out? Am I coming for fuel? Oh, Braden went in. Oh no! Oh no! I've got to come in. And if he tags that grass, he gets a penalty.
Oh, that close! Wow, right on the edge. So interesting with all that crazy crashing. Then I don't have. I wanted.
Oh, a NASCAR, baby.
No, I wanted to see another angle of that incident. But I just don't like having to rewind. Like, yeah, not the way I like to do it. So it was Aaron Hayden that I think got sent absolutely flying. Thank you. We are still under yellow, 14 laps in. This is our third caution flag. Gotta love to see it. Got some good accidents. But we've also had some great draft racing, and that's what Daytona's all about. Super Speedway. Look at that. What a job by our Thornton there, up 18 positions. The snuck in there without us seeing. Tom Neal in second. Darren has now moved up into first. I am sweating. I hope everybody else is staying warm out there. It's been, yes, I live in Queensland, but I tell you what, these 7 degrees mornings
Freezing.
does not feel like I live in Queensland.
You're supposed to live in the sunshine state, not the winter state.
Yeah, it's the days, if the sun's out, it's beautiful. Nights.
Ready to go green?
Yeah, we are ready. Let's get back to racing.
So Darren Palmer opted not to pit there. Tom Neal, Chris Thornton, Luke Georgeson. Those are the guys that haven't so far pit yet. Hayden Norris, I believe it was in just behind these guys. He pit under the previous caution, so he's now got more gas than the rest of these guys. So he's in a really, really good spot. He can go racing a little bit harder, but at the same time, it's fuel saving time. Don't forget, you've just had Braden Martin, Paul, Brian, all of those guys in behind them. They've all just recently pit. So now they're going to start dicing their way back up through the field. Jump on board probably with Braden or Paul. That'll give you a really good idea of what this pack racing's like. Have a look at the guys that in the top lane that just checked up. They just got out of the throttle going into the corner. But Scott, you said at the start of the thing, you're supposed to keep the foot to the floor. Yep, that's pack racing. DeBono's going to go it up the inside.
Like he's going to give it a go. So whose draft then is he trying to split?
So basically the cars ahead of him will sort of push off a little bit of a hole in the air in the middle of the two packs. And when you got to run, you got to take it somewhere. And these guys have been too wide for a lot of the races. A few drivers going, oh, why are we going 3 wide already? Why are we racing so hard? Dylan wants to advance his position so the wreck happens behind him. So far, that's not worked in his favor. The wrecks have been happening right around where he is when he's 3 wide. So he gets a huge benefit because he's dumping bad air onto the spoiler of these cars, which creates what we call side drafting. And all it does is creates a huge parachute that slows the cars down. So basically pull one car off the car ahead of him.
Ah, so it could be a little bit of tactics.
You should dip in line. What you do here is you dip in line, you build your momentum. The instant you got your momentum and there's a gap, you dive back out into that gap. That's how you advance your position. So what he's not doing right now, what the car on the outside of him just did, was he backed up a little bit, he laid off the throttle, then started to get the momentum going, then he took the run somewhere. Dylan's just getting too aggressive and trying to take a run everywhere all the time. That's not going to work. So now he's got to run. Now he's got a huge run on the car to his inside.
Oh, is he going to make 3 spots right now? Oh, this is
a lot.
Oh, we've got a beautiful angle of that one. Wow, that was amazing.
And that'll probably be
on
Nathan Allen coming down. To be perfectly honest, whoever the car was, the lead car on the outside, I thought that was Christopher Thornton.
Wow, what a instant.
So that's actually on Chris Thornton, who's actually come down.
Live timing not giving me everything I want to see, but this looks like it's going to be a good angle. Oh, there we go. There's the start. Oh, and cars are just scattering everywhere. How bad is your damage, Pete? I don't know, buddy. You might be the one that's going to have to tell us that. Honestly, it's not looking too good, mate. Not looking too good. But, you know, it could be worse.
Could be worse.
Could be worse. It looks like your car's still going straight. I feel like that's a positive.
He's still going to be chunking out laps.
Yeah.
There's still wine in the cup.
You got wine in your cup,
in,
you'll be fine. All right, so with that,
the instant that the wine cup is empty, that's when we're in real trouble.
Yeah, then we have a big problem. Then you've got to get up out of the sim, and that can be a tricky thing.
Look, to be perfectly honest, it's actually really, really tricky because these guys are still getting used to pack racing in the format where they're side by side all the time, right? And that's a new thing to a lot of these guys. And they're all sort of going, well, why are we going 3 wide this early in the race? That's actually, again, you're going to have to make a move. When you got the momentum, it's not like the leaders are single file. If the leaders were single file and you had momentum and you're going to pull out and go for a move, then you go 2 wide. The lanes are stalling out, or effectively not making any ground on each other, so stalling out. So in that instance, Daytona is going, yep, can I go? He's going to go through the middle 3 wide. To be perfectly honest, I think he should be, if he wants to make those sorts of moves, he should be towards the top lane and making the race around the top. Yeah. That's probably preferred. Obviously, the guys down the middle and up the top are a little bit concerned about where they need to position their cars. There's what these guys need to learn as well is the top lane see that marker, that dashed line in the shot. That's their line marker. Their left wheels should never come below that. Their entire car should stay. Their entire car should stay above that. The middle car should be running basically across that black seam, and the low lane should be running around that yellow line as much as they possibly can. The instant the lanes start wiggling and weaving all over the track and moving around, that's where you get cautions caused. And you actually have a look, Chris Thornton actually comes down towards the pack, and that's what actually causes that last incident. So a little bit, even though to some people that go, oh, well, this guy's being really, really aggressive. He's being 3 wide. He's trying to go car racing. And to go super speedway racing, that's actually what you have to do. So it's a big learning curve for these guys. Huge learning curve. Everything that these guys have learned so far, they've got to unlearn it when they come back to super speedway racing, because you are going to be 2 wide the entire race long.
That's what we want to see. Tim Harris has dropped in and said, did that need to happen on lap 18? Mate, that's NASCAR, as Scotty would say.
Probably not.
That's NASCAR. Probably didn't need to happen, but I tell you what, it bloody made a good show.
It does. It makes it exciting. Some people see it as over-aggressive. Some people are upset with that racing. Again, yeah, whatever. That's racing. There's nothing you can do about it. Get back in line, go again. 1/3 of the race distance already. This thing is really trucking along. Haha.
Haha. Puns. Everybody loves a good pun.
No, most people don't.
Mate, look, as a dad, you've really got to enjoy the terrible jokes that are out there, and puns have got to be right up there. All right.
See, in racing, you get a lot more puns than other people in any other sport. Why? Because it's literally right there in the move that moves somebody out of the way. The punt.
The punt, yep. Punt him out of the way. Is there rulings in NASCAR, in certain leagues, that, like, a direct, sort of try and take someone out is sort of, like, within rules somewhere? Like, there's a bit of a grey line where, like, if it's sort of, they're racing, but they don't necessarily, make it look like they're attempting to take someone out, they can get away with it?
Yeah, there is a really fine line there. There is a really, really fine line there in what you can and can't do. It's not illegal, but in NASCAR it tends to avoid punishment a lot of the time, unless it's blatant. The instant that is absolutely intentional and you put them in the car in the fence and you wreck their car, obviously that team's got to cover the cost of rebuilding that car, got to cover the cost of the driver potentially being out of action with any injuries, you know, structure. They may just have to throw away the chassis and rebuild the engine, the chassis, everything from the ground up. So that's obviously, they want to discourage that when and where they can. But at its core, NASCAR is about being aggressive, standing up for yourself, and not being bullied out on the racetrack. And sometimes that comes off with a good use of the good old chrome horn. So
the chrome horn, the front bumper.
You bet. It's very good for pushing things. Tonight, it's good for pushing the car ahead of you faster.
Well, let's see how that goes. So 21 laps in, 4th safety car down. Looks like some of the pack is a fair way back off this safety car. Like, and we're going
Darren Palmer's in control of the field. He's allowed to do so.
No, I was just wondering if some guys pitted and didn't make it back to the back of the pack in time.
Potentially, that's probably. There's a couple cars that are still down in pit lane getting some damage repaired, so they're in a little bit of trouble. But it is what it is. Yeah,
that was a pretty big accident, and it looked like there was 5 or 6 cars involved that definitely didn't come out the best. So hopefully they can get the damage repaired and get back out here. And as you can see, we've got Dano right on the... No, that's not Dano.
It is. It's Dano on the outside of the... Are you not live? There you are. Yeah. So that's Dano.
Sorry, there's 2 red Chevys, and I was so confused. So there's... Yeah, we got Dano on his left, and then I was actually looking at the guy riding him really hard.
Dylan DeBono. Let's not say that many times on the broadcast, please.
Riding him really hard.
Is that Braden Martin? No, it's Jeremy Bush that's actually formed up. So I was working a little bit with Jeremy Bush in practice, and just talking to him about what he needed to do to better form up his drafting. So right now, Dano needs to see if he can find himself a better ally. Bush is not really formed up on his rear bumper, so he's not sort of pushing that car a long way ahead. I've seen Glenn McLeod. Glenn McLeod's actually been a really, really good pusher. So you'll see, oh, Dylan, don't push him unsquare like that. See how Dylan was not square with the rear bumper of Darren Palmer when he made that push? That is so close to just turning Darren. Just pushing him straight down near the infield. So you can't do that. You've got to make square contact with the rear of the car. If you make unsquare contact, just pivots the car, spins him.
But then that'd be fault of yours for, you know.
Yep. Now, if he's gone for an overlap, and if Darren leaves a lane open on the bottom for Dylan to get his car down there, different story, because then Dylan's going for an overtake. If Dylan gets any overlap whatsoever, NASCAR has spotters. These guys know really, really well where the car is, where the run is coming from. They should know better than that. So it's up to the spotter to really get that going. You actually have a look. Dylan's still not quite square. He's a lot squarer there when he just made a bump. So Dylan's getting better at it over time.
It's really nice to see how well they're packing up and holding formation and just sort of...
Oh, Darren just bailed out of the throttle.
I don't know what that noise you just made.
He's got a pit. Darren's just got a speeding in pit lane penalty.
Oh, no.
So he got a penalty for something. I don't know what the something was, but he's got a penalty for something. He's had to serve it. The issue is, you cannot just pit from straight in front of the field like that. You've got to get down below that yellow line before you start slowing down. Otherwise, the whole field will just crash. Right? That is an illegal move. That is so bad. That is really, really poor form. Darren wouldn't have known that, so I'll have a quick word with him after the race. Say, hey, Darren, you kind of can't do it in this format. This is what you've got to do in the next time. That's learning. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Guys are going to make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes that take guys that end people's nights. So that's also racing. So
it does happen, and we've seen it. We've seen it in a few of our rounds this season where, you know, halfway through the race, a small incident that someone may not have been aware of has just completely taken out cars behind them. And that's race over.
Yep.
Oh, they are getting so close off the back of the Sim Racing World Motorsports car here. Watching Jeremy Bush and Dylan DeBono just get so close. If they'd reached out, they could have given each other a high five right then. And we've got Dylan DeBono. And who's that in the after dark? Is
Tom Neal.
Tom Neal. Pushing each
He's
other
doing a
through
phenomenal
right
job.
now.
Have a look at where how close together they were as well. That's the difference between good and bad pushing. Have a look. You come off the corner here, Tom, and he'll try. He needs to be a little bit closer when they come off of turn 3. And then you can get really right up in underneath his bumper. And Jeremy's just getting a little unsettled. He's getting a little skittish down that bottom line. It's really difficult, actually, to be the second car in line because you haven't got the perfect aero, so you don't have quite as much grip. And if somebody unloads your car, oh, these guys are in trouble. These guys are in trouble.
They are so close right now. Oh, and we've got a slow car on track too. Are they lapping that? Where did that Velocity Simlabs car just go? Oh, the Velocity Simlabs car as I brought it up. Oh,
that was Darren Palmer coming back out after the pits.
Oh, no.
So Darren's done another little bit of a boo-boo there. Generally, the lapped car will go to the top lane, and the whole field should file through underneath him. So that's a little bit of a faux pas.
So let's just have a quick look. We've got to go fairway back. Thanks, SDK. I should have an overlay. So was he coming out of the pit? So he was...
So you remember he came in?
So the pack is moving faster than him at this point then. Like a lot faster.
Yeah, so he's one car out in his own. So more cars running together on a super speedway run a lot quicker. And remember, they're running in his draft so as well. So they've got a huge run here.
So do you think the draft of all these cars have just unsettled his car a little bit?
Potentially. Have a look at Glenn. Glenn sort of bobbles a little bit, gets into this corner, and then...
actually, yeah, I think that looks like car 84.
Glenn. Glenn
has come down into him. A great
and
angle
that's
there.
just misreading the situation. The other thing from Glenn's perspective is as he's gone into the corner there's actually... What happens with these cars is that they have an air bubble all around them as well as... in front and behind, right? So there's air, and the way that the air moves all around them. If you've ever, there's a really good clip out on YouTube somewhere of 2 TCRs side drafting each other and just banging each other back and forth as they go down the Dottinger or the big long straight at the Nürburgring. And that demonstrates the air effect. Basically what happens is a pocket will form between the 2 cars that sucks the cars back together. So.
Interesting.
And it just sort of sucks the cars back together. So what would have happened there for Glenn is he's got a car on his outside and a car underneath him for the first time tonight, and he's trying to look for the markings that he's trying to save his lane, stay in his lane. It is really the first time that somebody's put in that position. You have no idea what you're doing. You're searching for something. What's my reference point? How am I keeping the car in my lane? How can I make sure that I'm smooth? And how do I keep the car in the right position? And at the same time, the car gets really light in the front end. Then it gets light in the rear end. Then it gets light in the front end again. So you sort of get this wavering feeling in the car, and the air's buffeting you, which you don't get that air buffeting feeling in iRacing. If you've ever ridden a motorcycle out on the highway and a truck's blown past you, that's what I'm talking about. You get sucked in towards the truck as the truck goes barreling past you. That's what I'm talking about. You would have felt it in your motor cars as well. A truck goes past you at high speed, your car gets sucked in towards them. Strong winds, all of those sorts of things are hitting the car side on. And the air and the airflow over the car is just so complex, and it's moving in so many different directions. So even though there may not have been a side gust at any point, it's a lack of air, a lack of moving air, a big gust immediately. And because he's in a weird situation where the cars were all positioned in and around him, Glenn would have had a tough time just keeping the car steady.
Yeah, and that's what it looked like from the angle we looked at. You could see all the movement of the car as everyone was passing Darren there, and you could see his car just get a little unsettled and made the tiniest movement on your steering wheel. And
again, the audience at home, they'll be sitting there without any feeling in the steering wheel coming through and say, Scott, why? Glenn's actually a really talented driver. He's a fantastic driver. He's held his line and done some phenomenal overtakes and some phenomenal driving with a lot of guys up and down the field so far this season. I've actually been really impressed with him. And he makes a move like that. That's weird. Why would a driver with that sort of skill and that ability do something like that? It's something that he's not used to. That's what it is. And again, that's why I wanted to add some speedway racing in here, because it's a critical skill for any accomplished NASCAR driver. In fact, there are actually a whole bunch of drivers out there where this is their bread and butter. They come to the few super speedway races of the year, and they're looking to win their race so that they lock themselves into a playoff spot for NASCAR. Because NASCAR has this system whereby the championship, at the end of the season, last X number of races, it's the last top 16 cars. If you win a race during the season, you're automatically locked into that 16 cars, unless there's 17 cars that have won a race. At which point, it's all the cars that have won one race ordered by points. Any cars that have won 2 races are then locked in, etc. And that's how it sort of flows in. And then a couple of races in, they'll break the bottom 8 cars out of that, a couple more races, and you're left with your championship 4. And the championship 4 go to the final race, and whoever wins that race out of the 4 of those guys wins the championship. So NASCAR has a unique system.
It's really interesting to learn about, that's for sure. Even though half the time I may not be listening, but, you know, I'm sure it's sinking in.
It's all about being a fan-oriented sport is what they're trying to do, so...
Oh, mate, it's been absolutely awesome to watch. I've been having an absolute blast learning about NASCAR, especially from the encyclopedia that is Scotty Rankin, and getting to watch some awesome oval racing, like absolutely fantastic oval racing.
Book yourself in now, mate. We'll do a masterclass sometime, yeah? You and me?
Yeah. When I find some time.
Now, you grip the cricket ball with all these fingers, and you really want to give that wrist a good old flick and a spin, and you rip the big leg break down the wicket. You know, that's leg spin masterclass for you.
Ah, I can do that.
Mate, this is easy. I'm just going to sell all this knowledge I have on the internet.
All right, let's get back to the racing. No more talk about cricket, Scott. Nobody knows what you're talking about. So it looks like we've got a couple of packs that are sort of split. We've got the top 10 sitting right pretty much on top of each other there. A little bit of a gap in between a couple of them. But that gap is absolutely nothing if you look at our timing tower there with the intervals. There is less than a second between the top 12. They are sitting right on top of each other, and then we have an 8-second gap back to Mr. Peter Morris sitting in 13th. So he's done well. After being involved with 2 little incidents that were not his fault, he has managed to get himself right back into 13th, which is great to see, Pete. Get that sipper meter up there. Here we are, the top 4. Massive. We got a 5-car train.
Big check up in the middle of the back of the pack as well. Just watching Paul Bryan struggling a little bit. They're 3 wide back there at the moment. Aiden Norris, I think it is, has just gone about a little bit out of the throttle. Nathan Allen's gone to the higher side of him, taking momentum, and it's runs. The problem these guys have got, if you're the leaders, right, and you have a run, you've got to take that run somewhere, because if you don't take that run somewhere, the car behind you won't know what you're looking at, and he'll try and do the best possible thing that he can. And that's continue racing until he knows that there's a problem. So it's really, really tricky.
All right, mate, we've got Steve Hoppett has dropped in, mate, and said, "Hey, Scott, I wasn't aware you had friends, mate."
Oh!
This is news to me, and this is our 7th stream we've done together, so they're learning something every day.
Steve is a quality guy. I've actually raced with Steve in a few different leagues, and he's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Comes up with some really, really good quips. And he's sort of an entry-level NASCAR series driver as well, so he's sort of trying to cut his teeth and learn his way around things. And yeah, I really want to see Steve Hoppett continue to race, because he's just a lovely guy. I'm hoping that earns me 1 friend.
Well, thanks for dropping in, Steve. Nice to see you, mate. Pleasure to meet you. And well, if it's right, if Scotty's saying, you know, you're a nice little NASCAR driver, you should get involved with the trucks. And we just saw that Riot Sim truck hit the top of the wall then, and absolutely scraped. Sparks went flying.
Speaking of sparks flying, there's spark flying once more over in Facebook chat. And Daniel West just sent 99 stars for Nathan. No idea who Nathan is, but thank you.
Daniel, thank you so
assuming-
much for 99 stars. Yeah, wait, could it be for Nathan Allen? Out
Could
on
be for Nathan
field?
Allen?
Yeah.
Could
Well,
be for Nathan Howard.
I have no idea who Nathan Howard is.
Me neither. Never met the guy.
No, me either. Weirdly. It's so funny. I have one of those nicknames that even like my real gamer tag or whatever you want to call it, alias, that even like all my in real life mates call me Shibby, and it's been like that for like 10 years. But someone asked me what my name is, I have to actually think about it for a second before I write it down. So huge shout out, Daniel West. Thank you so much for the 99 stars. We are on our way to our star goal. So appreciate everybody dropping in, not just for the stars, but for being here and helps. Oh, that's off the yellow.
That is really well done by everyone. That is some phenomenal driving. When a car does that, 99 times out of 100,
I thought
it
that
ends
was a
in
wreck.
a wreck.
Yeah, I thought it was a wreck. I thought we were on again. I got so excited, I stood up out of my chair. Oh, there is a wreck. Oh. Well, there we go. We jinxed it. Commentator's curse. And the cone has joined the race. All right, that looked to be a pretty big one. Let's see what we can find there. Holy smokes, what happened?
We don't need a fine-tooth comb to break this one down.
All right, so Dano moves over. Oh.
So this is an attempt at a block from Dano, except for there's a car underneath him. So that one is 100% on Dano.
Oh, no. And Tom Neal has been in the middle of that. We've also got there Gary McLeod. Looks like a few guys. Dano. So yeah, we could see from that angle that, as Scotty said, that Dano was trying to block, but there was a car to his left. And this is what happens when you have a single screen setup. You cannot see the cars next to you. It makes it extremely difficult to see racing lines and cars around you. So, Dano, you're going to have to upgrade to some triple screens one day, mate. Maybe we have to get him a sponsorship if he keeps winning.
I'm just reviewing something at the moment that's happened in race. So, yeah, there's quite a few cars actually just dodged into the pit lane to avoid the wreck. So, clearing black flag. So, well, that was a lot more than I intended to clear. Anyway, that's something I'll have to deal with in the next week or so. So effectively, what I did actually say at the start of the season was, if these guys are pushing or get nudged into the pits as a part of a wreck like that, that I would be clearing their penalties. Why? Because I want to give these guys the opportunity to use all the space that's available to them to dodge an incident that's happening. In an incident there was a couple of cars spinning that nudged cars down into pit lane. Said that we would clear those penalties at the start of the season. Gone ahead and cleared those.
So I've had some clearance. Daniel West is actually a mate of mine. I have friends, you see. He actually plays in my we play futsal together. And he's dropped in, so I believe the 99 stars are for me, not for Nathan J. Allen. So thank you very much, Daniel. And thank you for dropping in, mate. Really appreciate it, buddy, with my journey with SRW. It has been an absolute blast.
That's news to me. I wasn't aware that you had friends. So there you go. We've learned a lot tonight.
Mate, I'm married with kids. I don't have time for friends. But that's like left the building, 2 years ago when I got married. Now all I have time for is producing and marriage and kids, and that's it.
He rarely gets in the sim these days. He gets his Friday night.
Yeah, I do. I also do a lot of practice in the radicals in the sessions. I go and smash the radicals around on the tracks coming up. I have this thing for that car. I love it so much, and if it doesn't come back next season, I may have to jump in the F3s, because I do like the F3s as well. There's something about high downforce, fast acceleration, fast braking that just, I don't know, it just gets me. I enjoy it. I've tried the supercars and the Porsche a few times, and I have terrible problems with just locking them up into every corner possible.
Well, if you lock them up, you at least do know that they do work, so...
Yeah, the brakes work. Yep, and then the walls also help me stop. So it's a win-win situation in my eyes. Riley Jones has dropped in and said nothing but dramas for me tonight. Ha ha ha. Now to sit back and watch. So it looks like Riley Jones has has pulled out of the race. Unlucky Riley. Good racing tonight, mate. I hope you enjoy the rest of the broadcast. Thanks for dropping in after your race is finished, mate. We really appreciate it. Well, I know.
Get back in there and
appreciate
spot for some of your teammates there, Riley. Get out there.
yeah.
They need it. So what you're looking for in terms of a spotter, what a spotter's role within this race is, they need to look at where the runs are coming from, look at when there's any overlap. Now, an iRacing spotter will actually tell you when there's any overlap. So generally, if you've got somebody spotting for you, I generally say, hey, can I just get the iRacing spotter to cover me? Can I get you to tell me where the momentum is, where the runs are coming from, if I should move up or should move down? And I'm relying on that spotter to do that. And then my job is to make sure that I'm then pushing, drafting correctly. So I'm focused, when you're moving at these speeds with cars that are this poorly maneuverable, taking as many of those tasks and functions away from the driver allows the driver to be far more successful at what they're doing.
That's what we want. Successful drivers.
So yeah, that's what my advice to Riley is. Yeah, just jump in, jump onto your teammate who's potentially fighting for a lot of track position late in this race here. Tell them if there's a run coming from the high side. Tell them which lane's fastest, which are the better lanes they should be trying to look for. Tell them if there's any car in the field that you think is pushing somebody else very, very well, or there's a car that's making a lot of ground. That's what you need to be looking for. So that would be my strongest advice for Riley.
He's dropped in, mate, and said 22 minutes of repairs. He's out. That's his game, I think.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That happens. Get in there and support your teammates.
It's NASCAR. That's racing. Also had Peter Morris. I think his Sippo-meter is on the go because he's just dropped in and just said, call me Elvis. I think his Sippo-meter's filling up quite nicely tonight, Pete. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I know this is your favourite series to race in, mate, and we love having you here. And while you're racing, you're always sitting in the chat with us and having a chat. So, mate, you're doing well. You're doing well.
The fact that he's able to do that, man, is... Women say that men can't multitask. Peter Morris is living proof that he can, occasionally.
Speaking of, no, that's not Peter Morris in the fishy there. Yes, it is. I am correct. But Peter Morris with Glenn McLeod, and is that Darren and Evan taking away in front of them? It is. Geez, they just put a big gap on Peter Morris and Glenn then. They are really catching this pack.
They will, though, because they're not punching into the hole in the air, and there was two cars working together a long way back there. So a lot of momentum, and they need to take it somewhere. This is, if Christopher Thornton had bailed out of that run and not taken it somewhere, Darren would have had nowhere to go at the last possible minute. It would have been really, really tricky for him to do something about that. So that's what I'm talking about. So that's actually a really, really good heads-up driving from Chris, because that's actually prevented a wreck behind him. And it's tricky. The problem is, if everyone on the field tries to do that, you end up having a wreck anyway because you end up 5 wide. Now, Daytona's actually wide enough that you can just barely squeeze 5 wide on the racing surface, and I've raced back to a flag successfully 4 wide. So it's possible, but it requires all drivers to be well experienced, all drivers to know exactly when they need to position their cars and what the wind is going to do to their cars as well.
I suppose that's one thing in sim racing that's sort of one of those hard things to sort of feel what's actually going to happen with your car would be wind, right? Like, how does force feedback work with the way the wind works? Like,
it does actually affect it. So it's any forces that are acting on the cars whatsoever. So,
okay, that's interesting. And I suppose with a more quality wheel, you'd feel a little better. It'd be more noticeable.
Yeah, you get little bits and pieces of more information. You get the information sooner. The higher the force, or the better the quality of the wheel, the more subtle features you'll actually feel within the force feedback. So generally, what happens is the difference between a low end and a high end is that I will be sliding the car and I'll be able to catch it before the rear of the car starts to rotate. Now, when I was back on an older version of the wheel, I was still sliding the car. The problem is, by the time I've realized that that's all happening, based upon the information that I'm getting through the wheel, it's too late. The car's not recovered. That's generally ridiculous.
A few times there it sounded like you're moving away from your mic, and I think
I've got cats that are trying to eat my cables all around me at the moment. I've got one cat that basically, when she's hungry, she comes up and just starts licking the cables all around my computer. So
sounds great. Oh, I love cats. All right, it looked like getting a little worried for Dano then, out in the lead at the moment, and looked like he was having a few connection issues. His car sort of disappeared for half a lap then, and I was a little scared he was going to blink back in, and then all of a sudden the field is going to be wiped out. So
yeah, so what's happening on Dano's screen? He's actually just said so in race as well, and it's something that I've experienced as well. I have similar connection issues. It's micro packet loss. So he's missing 1 or 2 packets. He's on screen all the time for himself. Generally, when you're losing small amounts of packets like that, the other cars on the track won't disappear. But for everyone else, you disappear for that small amount of moment, which is really hard to read, because generally when I'm in that sort of a situation, it's generally in these high intense sort of moments, huge number of cars running very, very close together, and I can't tell that I'm blinking out, and I can't tell that I'm causing issues for other guys, and Daniel's going through that at the moment.
I've got to say,
have a look at this.
Debono is pushing the back of Dano so hard right now. He is riding the back of him. You can see that the front of his
That's
truck
really good pushing.
Is really
He's improved
pushing him
out of sight. Now, the critical factor here is that Braden Martin needs to get up in behind. So Hayden Norris has got to stick it out in this top groove a little while longer. Now he's got Braden Morris in behind him. Now he's got some momentum. Now Braden Martin has just abandoned him completely.
Oh, a bit of movement on the top of the track there. Oh, we've got a slow car as well on the top of the track.
Multiple cars going slow, so
we just
lightly scraped them with Chris Thornton, so he's going to form up now. So Chris Thornton gets the rear bumper, and then all of a sudden, Hayden Norris starts making a huge run on that outside lane, picks up a little bit of momentum. Braden Martin thought about sliding up in front of them, and by the time that he actually got out of line, they were too far ahead, so he couldn't actually do that. He would have caused a wreck. So again, heads up driving by a few guys. Debono's going to try and side draft off the leader right now, try and get that lane away. The problem for Debono is the momentum on the bottom lane. Their cars are closer together. They've formed up nearly 3 wide.
Oh my gosh, Chris Thornton had to get off that accelerator then. Otherwise, that was going to be dangerous.
Just got a complete disadvantage. So Debono got a long way out in front of the pack then, which means that he wasn't getting any air bubble or drafting support. So he lost a huge deal of momentum. So then everyone else is drafting off of him, just tries to go around the outside, and they've got the momentum. This time he's managed to slot back in and pick it up again. If Aiden had just kept going around the top 3 wide, he would have disappeared, and Debono would have lost about 5 spots.
This is intense racing. So if you've just joined us tonight, welcome and thank you for joining us. This is round 7 of our NAS trucks for DSL welding. And tonight we are at Road to El Dorado. Oh,
no, that was last week.
That was last week. Oh man, let me read my notes. Hang on, flick. Date. Oh no, what's happened there?
And Thornton's been wiggling about on the corner entry all night, and he cannot do that. And it's just one too many times for Chris Thornton.
Oh, unlucky, mate. I was just about to say, we are on board with our top 8, all packed up on top of each other.
You say unlucky, but he's caused that himself. So, look, you can sit down and go, oh, look, it's unlucky, it's harsh, but you can't move around like he's been doing on the corner entry. At Daytona, that will cause a big one. If you've got a pack of 35 cars, you'll lose 20 of them by him doing that.
Well, that just split our pack of 8 into 2 packs of 4 now. Just from that little incident there. Peter Morris has chimed in and said, welcome to Cat Chat with Scotty.
Who's our resident cat guy? We've got a resident cat guy in the league.
I feel like it's you now.
It's not me. We get comments on the stream every week that we need to talk about somebody's cats.
Is it cats? I thought it was on the dock. Someone we have to ask questions about the
Dogs?
the fishing.
Was it dogs?
No, the boat ramp. We always get
Oh,
asked.
yeah, it's the same guy. It was the same guy. It was about
boat
his,
ramp.
it was about his animals and what they're called, and about the boat ramp. And I can't remember who it is, and they always chime in really, really late.
Yeah, please someone chime in and ask us who we're supposed to ask about the boat ramp, because we forget every week.
Every week, we're like, we need to ask this guy. If we ever get to chat to him, we've got to ask this guy about the boat ramp,
find
about the
out
animals.
what this boat ramp is.
Mate, the boat ramp in my hometown was where you hung out on a Friday night when you were underage.
Mate, we used to go swimming at our boat ramp and fishing. It was great.
We owned a jet skis, so we were the cool family.
Ah, jet skis. I had a freaking bodyboard that I used to surf down the flooded creeks. You and your fancy jet skis.
Mate, it was fantastic. Loved it. We went, I was dirt bike racing. Oh, we're gonna
What?
We're gonna go to a green flag pit stop. We're gonna go to a green flag stop. Daniel Harris is out of fuel this lap.
Ah, serious?
So he has to pit. Yep, he has to pit. So we are gonna get that green flag pit stop. Now go to a chopper or a rear chase cam. This is interesting. It'll see how many cars pit with him. If he's the only one and he gets abandoned, his race is over. If 3 cars come with him, they might speed up enough to run away.
Oh no. Looks like it's just
on his own. Race over.
Oh no, Dano.
Now, for Dano, don't take tyres. Tyres at Daytona absolutely make no impact whatsoever. Don't take tyres. If he takes a splash of fuel, maybe okay.
Oh, we're gonna find out, mate. And we've got a pack forming again now. They are catching back up to these the leader packs really quickly. So we saw it split off. It split off from the top 8 and went into 2 splits of 4, and now they're all piling back on top of each other.
You saw what happened there with Aiden Norris. He got a huge run, and then he drafted, I think it was Jeremy Bush, that he drafted up on the back of the locked-on car on the top side. No, it's Leon Williams. And then he sort of just hit him quite heavily. You don't actually want to do that in terms of bump drafting. What you actually want to do is you want to come up on them slowly and connect the 2 cars together. Because if you bump them, you push them out in front, they get a little bit of momentum for a little bit of time, and then they come back to you again. And then you'll do the same and you'll cycle that. Whereas if you connect up, you're giving them momentum and you're working together. If the cars stay connected, you have 2 cars effectively in terms of aerodynamics, drag, engine power, all these factors working together, but the drag is lesser. Whereas if they're operating as individual entities, they go slightly slower because each car has drag operating on it.
Oh, mate,
and that's why bump drafting works.
The aerodynamics in NASCAR racing is insane. I've also noticed...
Dylan DeBono has made a lot of enemies so far tonight. A lot of people unhappy with the way that he's been driving.
Oh,
Have a look at how little support he's getting out in this top lane. And he's been running at the front a lot of this stint as well. So he's burned more fuel than everyone else in this pack. The same way that Dylan, Dano had actually burned more fuel and had to pit early. DeBono is going to have the same problem, except he's trapped on the top lane. He's got to find a way to get to the bottom before he can pit.
Ah, so they're just going to hold him there, essentially, and just stop him.
Would.
Yeah, okay, nice tactics. And then these boys are going to bump draft to keep themselves in front of him and side by side. Aha!
Best position car right now, I'm actually going to say Braden Martin. It's either Braden Martin or it might be Evan Horswell, because these guys have been drafting the whole stint. They haven't led any laps, so they're in a really, really good situation.
Also got a slow car coming up here, one of the man-up sim race. Car number 7.
Oh, hi, Gary.
Gary?
Doing well.
Stay up there, mate. That's the way. Just get the race finished, mate. It's not about winning. It's about being consistent. Building those points as we go.
Oh, Braden's thinking about it. Braden's just picking which lane do I want to go with. He wants to get to the front end of this pack. So he gets in there behind. So see how he abandoned the car that was in the bottom lane? And because that car had no one behind them helping to draft them, it's not about the initial draft, right? It's not about the most cars in a lane. It's about how that lane is organized. The closer the cars are together, the better they operate as a drafting unit. Dylan DeBono tried to get down in that bottom lane right there. That was the wrong call. Braden Martin, for me, has been the best pusher so far tonight. If I'm looking for a car that's going to push me to the win, I want to be in front of Braden Martin. I don't want to slot into this bottom line. Now, again, remember, if DeBono has to pit, he has to get to the bottom lane.
That's true, and they're just going to block him there. So this could be really interesting. And look, I don't really like siding with one team or one driver, but honestly, I'm feeling it for Braden tonight.
I want to see Braden win it.
I want to see him win it, and if not, get on that podium, mate. Driven so well over the last 7 rounds.
And
honestly.
now you've got the locked on. This is crucial. You've now got teammates together. If the teammates can form up and they can work together, one of them wins it. Doesn't matter who wins it, one of their team stands on the podium. And sometimes that's all you need. It's just a team that says, yep, I don't want to win this thing. I want you to win this for us as a team. Let's go get him.
Get him, boys.
Oh, he's got it. What a move.
Dropped in. Well done, Braden. So smooth.
And he's burned up his teammate, but if Leon wants him to win this race, sometimes the teammate will go, yep, I'm happy with that. That's a great result. DeBono, you've got to stay square. You've got to stay square. Stop bumping like that. That's wrong.
He has been bumping all night. He was doing it to Dano. We could see him bumping Dano. We were right up behind him trying to give those bumps.
And don't bump somebody in the corner. Do not push somebody in the corner because you're turning. You've got wheel input in. You will spin the car.
He is sitting
better.
right on the back bumper.
But before, he swung a little bit high. He was about a quarter of his car was hanging out. Oh, big wreck!
Not a big wreck, just one car. Unlucky. Who was that? 271.
Oh, guess what?
NASCAR overtime! Yes! I freaking love it! Well, come on, bunch the whole pack up. Come on!
The final siren
is
about to blow.
NASCAR
but man, we're going to set ourselves up for some golden point overtime.
Let's go!
Now, the field is going to be bunched up. Oh, that's unlucky.
Yeah, let's get a bit of different view. On board with Evan Horswell here. In the red man up sim, and he's just
he's squeezed.
Yeah,
that's on him. That's on him.
A little bit.
Yep, you can't run that high. You've got to stay in that middle groove, and he's just lost. That's why there's if you actually have a look at where these drivers are driving, you've got that black seam.
Oh my gosh! I thought he was taking out the car behind him as well. Daniel West has chimed back in and said, so, like, does that guy take his cats to the boat ramp or something? We're not sure, Daniel.
We're not sure.
We're not sure.
We have no idea. We've been trying to find out.
I'm sure it's one of Nathan J. Allen's, Nathan J. Allen.
Not Nathan Allen. I thought it was, like, Damien or something.
I think it's like one of their teammates. I feel like it's...
No, it's not. It's nothing to do with their team. I know it's not. I feel like it might be... I don't think it's the After Dark boys. I think it's the other one, the Riot boys.
I think it's from the Riot boys. Well, we got this Hayden Norris right here, so... I really want to know now. I feel like we missed out on a great opportunity to have something to talk about. So we're not here to talk about NASCAR or racing. We're here to talk about The Simpsons, Futurama, you know...
I'm gonna pull the points up, and I'll see if I can like just looking at the names will trigger something.
Just go look at last week's stream, I think.
It might have been Matty Skulls, actually.
It was. We've got to ask Scholesy about the boat ramp.
Yeah, Scholesy about the boat ramp. He's not here tonight.
Ah, well that's disappointing. We're never gonna find out about the boat ramp and the cats. All right, Scotty.
If his teammate Aiden Norris ends up on the podium, we'll ask him to remind us. Yeah, we'll give him hell every week.
All right, Scotty, you want to let all the new people out there know about NASCAR overtime?
No.
Oh, well. I can't really remember how it works. All I remember is we get 2 attempts at getting a checkered flag. So essentially when the safety car leaves, we will get a white flag, and then there is 2 laps of sprinting to the checkered flag. If there is another safety car, we get 1 more attempt. And the way it works is whoever gets over the line first is the winner. So it gets super exciting. It is just an all-out sprint. And I would have loved to see the whole pack. And it has actually turned nighttime now here at Daytona. And the lights across this beautiful raceway look absolutely amazing. We've got Westy in the chat again. What do you call a dolphin crossed with a banana? God, Scott, what do you reckon? He's left me. How dare he have other things to do while we're casting? Right, I was hoping for a bit more of the pack, but...
Sorry.
Yeah, jeez, you better be sorry.
Sorry. Just clarify. So Darren Palmer has just gotten himself a lucky dog. So we're going to go over a few times, right? So the race has now reached its conclusion. This is lap 60. We crossed the end of it. We crossed the start-finish line this time by. End of the race. Race over, you would think. No. We get this cool thing called NASCAR Overtime. NASCAR,
love it,
and its fans really want to see the race end under a green flag. So, in much the same way as we get golden point deciders in multiple sports around the world, extra time and whatnot, NASCAR have come up with their own version of racing's overtime. Should there be a caution that flies prior to the race's end that would see the race end under a caution, the caution procedure will continue as normal. The guys will normally be allowed to pit on their regular laps. Lucky dog procedures and all that will be followed to allow the field to stack back up, and the race will get extended. Now, when they go back green, which will be at the end of this lap, by the way, they will get a white flag next lap, and then they'll get a checkered flag. So they'll get the green flag this lap, they'll go one lap, they'll get the white flag meaning one lap to go. The following lap, they'll receive the checkered flag to end the race. Should another yellow flag fly between the time the green flag comes out and the yellow flag comes out, we'll try and do it one more time. You can have up to 3 attempts. We've chosen to go with 2 here at SRW NASCAR Truck Series. Should the yellow flag fall after the white flag is issued, but before the checkered flag comes out, race is locked in. Where you are currently at, follow all on-screen iRacing instructions. That's your finishing order. That's how it ends.
And that's what makes NASCAR Overtime so exciting.
We've had NASCAR Overtime, I think, what, three weeks in a row?
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's the best part about it. Like, I love the fact that there could be a huge wreck at the finish line, and still whoever ends up over that line first, regardless if they're on their wheels or not, is going to take the race.
So it's about getting these guys all packed up and giving them an opportunity. NASCAR is a fan-based sport, and that's what they want, is to get everything finished up.
All right, we are green flag. We now have 3 laps, so 1 lap, then white flag, and then the sprint to the finish. We've just had Daniel West drop in with another 100 stars, mate. Honestly, thank you so much. We've already had a wreck. We've already had a wreck in the background. Oh, Dano has just gone flying. Oh, my gosh.
Well, you wanted to see...
Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins has left the building. Holy smokes, that was wild.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of flying NASCAR.
Oh, yes. So anyway, as I was rudely interrupted by a beautiful display of Crash there, Daniel West, also known as Westy, has chimed back in and said, nice production, guys. NASCAR not normally my thing, but I enjoyed this and dropped us another 100 stars. So thank you very much, Westy. Appreciate you dropping in, mate. If you do !notify in the chat, you'll actually see when we go live for all our other seasons. So tomorrow we have the SR8 Radicals, which is 2 Hayabusa engine, 1300cc engine strapped into a 700 kilo car. It is a great ton of fun. Wednesday nights, Formula 3. Thursday nights, the Porsche Cup. Friday nights, Rallycross. And Sunday nights, our V8 Supercars Super Shuttle.
You know, I think Braden Martin's out of fuel.
Is he slowing down? His K's are still pushing. We're still on caution though.
He might be out of fuel. Now, if he would have run out of fuel and we would have gone green, he wouldn't have finished the race. He would have finished 1 lap down. He's going to have to pit.
This is going to be interesting. I need to see Dano flying through the air, so I've got to quickly... I don't want to get off Braden Martin. I want to see what he's going to do. He's coming into the pits. This No, is that...
He's out of fuel.
Oh, no. Oh, DeBono's coming in. We've actually got 3 guys coming in.
These are all the guys. So they had enough fuel for the first NASCAR overtime only. Only. They didn't have enough fuel for the second one. They need to put enough fuel in their car for about 3 to 4 laps. Whilst you're in here, if your tires are a little bit scuffed and you think you're going to get this car underway a little bit slow, take some tires. But if somebody else doesn't take tires, they'll start ahead of you. So it's this really interesting dichotomy of what position do I want to restart the race in. The whole field just about has come down. The only guy who had enough fuel, Evan Horswell.
Yeah.
Evan Horswell pitted under the last caution, under our first attempt at NASCAR overtime. If a yellow flag flies, Evan Horswell will win this race. Ready for it? Ready for it?
Here we go. Catch you later. Oh, that is beautiful. That was like a triple 360 flip. Well,
ladies and gentlemen, the Sim Racing World TV NAS truck is now officially a piece of pigskin. It's that piece of oval leather that Americans call a gridiron ball. They call it football. We call it a gridiron ball.
I do like me some NFL. I think the strategic plays behind it is super exciting.
Did Evan not take enough fuel for 2 NASCAR overtimes?
That's what I'm wondering, because
is he going to have to come back in?
Is he going to pull back in now?
He is. Oh no, Evan!
No, he's staying out. He's staying out.
No, it was the other cars. It was the other cars that were ahead of him. He's all good.
Westy said rallycross. Heck yes, mate. And if you want to get involved with some iRacing and you have yourself a wheel and some pedals, mate, all you got to do is become a member of Sim Racing World, and you can come join in the rallycross for absolutely nothing. It is an open and free series that we have got for everybody to come and let their hair down, have a bit of a race. I actually race in it in myself.
I've got some information about Gary Redcliffe for you, so give me a sec.
Yeah, because we've actually lost a few cars. The pack has definitely we've had quite a few retiree cars tonight. A lovely pirouette.
Gary Redcliffe wrote this message to me last week. He wanted to get a little bit more time on broadcast, wanted us to talk about him. And this is great. I actually want to see more driver profiles, so I might actually put a call out to a few drivers this week just to get a driver profile. Tell me a little bit more about yourself, what makes you tick. Hey, Scotty, I run for Men Up Sim Racing. I'm really, really enjoying the NASCAR Truck Series. I'm only new, and I'm a 60-year-old, but I'm still a kid at heart. I love to compete. A bit about me for your broadcast. I'm a competitive cyclist and race on weekends in A grade against the younger ones. He was diagnosed with leukemia 20 years ago, and with stem cell transplant from his sister, he's still here today, and he's still NASCAR trucking.
Oh, that's fantastic. We love hearing about our drivers in the league. It's a great way to get to know them, and it helps us support them as well. Like, we can't pick one driver, but it's great to hear that story. And if you want, guys, go check out manupaustralia.org.au. I've lost my... There we are. Too busy looking at Gary's car while you were talking about him. And we are green with Evan in the lead. So let's see what happens with Dylan DeBono and Braden Martin. And, man, I want Braden to take this.
He's going to run, but the problem is he's in the lane without support. Now, the issue is... what I would be doing in his shoes is I wouldn't be trying to pass Dylan DeBono yet. I would be hanging in the lane. Not quite yet. You want to make your run on the last lap. A little bit of door-to-door racing. Evan Horswell, I think, is down on engine power. Or he's running really low on fuel, and he's not full throttle, so something's going on there. So Braden's gone too early. Back it off, Braden. Slot in. Back it off, slot into this draft pack. Or get Tom Neal to support you, because Tom Neal's coming up quick and the car behind him as well.
Here we are on board with Evan now to see if there's any changes that we can hear in his accelerator. It still sort of sounds like he's got it pretty flat to the floor, so interesting to see if he does actually have enough fuel.
I think he is. I think he's good. So Braden's now going to dip in. So what he wants to do is build this run. We are a white flag. We're the last lap of the race. This lap will end the race. Now, build the momentum, build the momentum, build the momentum. Get all the way down this back straight. DeBono's gone early. DeBono's gone very, very early. He'll run out of momentum. Now, take the momentum. See what he's doing. He dips down the line. He's going to get to the top side. He's going to push DeBono out. Oh, now he's lost the draft. Now he's lost the momentum. So Braden's run this the wrong way. Oh, DeBono's out.
Oh, no. Come on.
Horsewheel will win.
Oh, Horsewheel is going to take the win. Oh no, the car number 3 has just slid sideways into the pits. The DeBono.
Dylan DeBono ran out of fuel. He ran out of fuel. 100% he ran out of fuel.
Oh no. What
because
a chaotic finish.
Well, Braden Martin gets the podium he was after.
Not what I wanted. I want to hear on board. We want to hear what happens there to see if he actually had run out of fuel.
He ran out of fuel. He ran out of fuel. There's no way in hell that you would lift.
Ready? Here we go. 100% you can hear it. His car is spluttering, and then it was all over.
If you run out of fuel, go to the apron. Get off the racing surface. Get out of everyone's way. The way that he's tried to defend that there is really poor. And he will get a unsafe pit entry penalty for that one, or a speeding pit lane.
What a finish again here on SRW NASCAR. Always exciting to see a NASCAR overtime. Gotta love it. You never know what's going to happen at the end. Well done to Evan Horsewheel for taking that right at the finish there. And congratulations, Braden. 2nd place. Let's go, mate.
He got there. It took him 7 rounds, but he got there.
Ah, mate, he's raced so hard and so well. And the improvements we've seen across the field, like, so many other guys deserve to get podium finishes this season.
Mate, I want to talk to Evan Horsewheel, because if there is somebody that is going to be absolutely ecstatic to win a race, it'll be Evan. Now, all power to Braden. I think he's got someone listening to the broadcast. He's got someone listening to us. So what Braden did right there was that he had a run. He tried to take it somewhere. But when there's only 3 cars together like that, you're not going to go anywhere. The 2 cars that are grouped up, they're always going to push out. So he's recognized that. He's let them have their momentum, slotted back in. Then he built the momentum. What he needed to do, though, was once he got the momentum advantage, just abandon Dylan. Just get out from underneath him. And he would have just sailed past those 2 off and would have won the race on his own. So, I mean, that's some decision-making. There's a little bit of learning there for him. He'll learn from that. Braden always listens, always willing to learn. One of the things I love about him. But, mate, Evan Horsewheel. Evan Horsewheel comes through for his first victory. It says 10 on the screen. Car 271. Well done, Evan.
Yeah, not sure why it says 10, but some of the numbers are still a little bit iffy. Working on that. But also, it looks like Dylan did get that penalty, post-race penalty, and he had got knocked back into 4th. So Leon Williams comes up into 3rd. So what a finish. All right, we are going to get our podium interviews underway any second now, guys. We are just getting everybody into the green room so we can have a chat with the lads and see how they felt about their race tonight. I'd like to give a huge shout out for everybody for joining us again tonight. If you have enjoyed this broadcast, please hit those like, follow, and subscribe buttons and share us around with your friends. Sharing is caring. A huge shout out tonight for our star senders, which was Mr. Daniel West and Eddie. So thank you so much for the stars tonight, guys. You do definitely help keep our league running. And all the guys out in YouTube as well, thank you so much for hanging around and watching our NASCAR trucks tonight. That's all you need to do to help support our leagues and our broadcasts is just hang out with us, enjoy the races, have a chat with us.
All right. We are going to start off by interviewing Leon Williams, and I don't think the whole podium I don't think expected to be talking to us at the end of the night. So, Leon, congratulations, mate. First podium in the Sim Racing World Truck Series.
Hello.
Mate, you were in for an absolute blast and just a run with the flag here tonight, weren't you? And something happened.
Yes, I need to find a new crew chief. I think he decided that I had plenty of fuel on that last stop and turned my refuel off.
So you ran out of fuel as well.
I did, and I just made it back into the pits. Managed to get fuel, and that's what put me at the back of that lead pack again. But then, yeah, whatever happened at the end, I managed to pick up a third.
Mate, congratulations. That's a phenomenal run that you've had in the end to the flag there. Look, tough race tonight, and you've got to expect that. This is the first time you guys have gone restrictor plate racing. A lot of you've got to learn where the lanes are and what your markers are on the track so that you stay consistent. And then a lot of mistakes I think were made. I think I've seen you made a couple. Glenn McLeod, I think, made a couple. Pretty much guys up and down the field were just making mistakes tonight. But it's a new series, it's a new set of racing, new set of rules, and you've got to learn that, don't you?
Oh yeah. I can't believe the intensity of this. That was just crazy intense. There's no rhythm with the circuit. You get into a rhythm of the circuit, like left, right, left, whatever it is. But this one, you're just full on from start to finish.
Pack racing, cars, it's unique, isn't it? Because there is no other motorsport whereby you will be running 2x2 the entire race long. What it does do is it does give you a really big appreciation for what it takes to race so close to each other. How did you find that tonight? Any adjustments? Any things that you'll take away in going forward, and certainly within the NASCAR services that iRacing has to offer?
I'm hooked. I hadn't got into the oval racing at all up until this series, and I'm well and truly hooked. I even had a go at the dirt during the week, try and get out of rookies for dirt too. So,
mate, well, it's been an honour having all the Locked On guys jump in and be a part of the inaugural Sim Racing World TV. I'd like to really extend the opportunity for you guys to thank your sponsors, because this is the first time you guys have been on the podium this season. Come close a few times, but tonight you registered 2 trucks on the podium.
Yeah, well, definitely. The whole Locked On team, fantastic group of people, fantastic camaraderie. We have a ball on Discord while we're racing. It's a good time. Call out to the Q Club, best barbecue place around. If you need any sort of barbecue supplies, give them a yell. And Williams, Brown and Co. They're a little bit different. They are a beard and moustache oil place. For treating your facial hair. So thanks to all of them.
Mate, you might have to send me the link for those guys. I've got a bit of a beard on my face, that's for sure. I could use some beard oil.
I was about to say you can't race a NASCAR and not keep your man hair in good manly shape.
So true. But yeah, well done, Leon.
I'm not going there.
Well done tonight, Leon. There was a bit
mate.
of an incident at the end there, mate, which saw Dylan Demona get a post-race penalty, mate, which is why you got up into 3rd place.
That's what happened.
Right.
Yeah, some very close calls all through the night, and had a real good night. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome, mate. Thanks for being in the series with us.
Well, that was P number 3. We'll get the opportunity to talk to the driver of the 09 now, and the second of the 2 drivers from Locked On Ads that managed to make the podium. Braden, it's taken, I think, 6 weeks longer than you thought it would have taken, but you're here at last.
I would say 6 weeks quicker than I thought it would be. To be honest, like I said, I didn't think I was probably going to get up here on merit. But I mean, a couple of people missing tonight. But yeah,
were you listening to the broadcast of that last lap?
No, not at all. Why is that?
Okay, because literally, I'm like here. If I'm sitting in Braden Martin's shoes, he needs to do this. He needs to do this. And every time I said something, about 5 seconds later, you did it. So it was perfect.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I felt like I sort of had the right idea in mind, and I feel like if I don't know what happened with Dylan, it felt a bit weird when we were driving, but I'm sure there's reasons, and get a bit
He ran out
hot-headed
of
when
fuel.
things happen. Yeah,
Ran out of fuel, yeah.
I feel like if he hadn't had that happen, I feel like I probably might have got away with the win there. So it's a bit frustrating, but I mean, hey, can't complain too much with the second.
Mate, getting used to NASCARs as a whole is a difficult form of racing. They do mirror V8 supercars in a lot of ways, and they're completely and utterly their own thing in just about every other way. It's been a learning curve, and I think in terms of the field, you've adapted yourself to that learning curve. We talk a lot to a lot of the other drivers, but a lot of those other drivers have run a lot of NASCAR. You're one of these guys like Leon that's fresh to oval racing, and tonight is that your first super speedway dig, or?
When I finally got my C class, when I was sort of preparing for this, there was some racing at Talladega that week, so I had done a few races at Talladega, but that's about it. Apart from that, yeah, this is the first one. I spotted for Wilco and Tim Corn, a couple of teammates in the NASCAR Daytona 500 this year. So I sort of came in with a little bit of an idea of sort of how the two lines worked and sort of where the speed was and where you want to be. So I just kind of tried to apply what I learnt by doing that, and yeah, seemed to work out okay.
Look, P2, you're starting to climb through the championship, you're making a run to the flag. There's a few rounds left to go here. Do you think you can be standing in championship contention with what have we got? 3 rounds to go after this one. Do you think you can get onto that championship podium?
It all depends on if you're going to give us drop rounds. So I'm praying for a no. So because obviously Lachlan's missed a round now. I don't know if he'll be back. I know he was doing the F4s tonight in another league. So I mean, there's a chance if that's the case. If not, it'll probably be that fourth or fifth that I've been sitting pretty much for the whole series. So yeah, fingers crossed. If you're looking friendly upon us and there's no drop rounds in this series, then maybe there's a good chance. If not, I think assuming Lockie comes back, it'll be a bit hard.
Well, I mean, if you look at the point standings, Capel's still got an 18th or something really, really poor registered in there as well, whereas your results have sort of been, I think, every round just about you finished inside the top 10. So
yeah, 11th was worst.
Yeah, that will count back a little bit in your favour, so you'll gain 7 spots worth of points in terms of the drop round there, plus actually it'll be more than that because these drop rounds obviously a 0-pointer. So I mean, you're still in with a shot. I will say I'm going to discuss it with the admins. It wasn't mentioned at the start of the season because I hadn't even thought of drop rounds, to be perfectly honest, because I didn't think the rest of the league was running drop rounds. But I think we just found out last week that we are running drop rounds in just about every series. So I probably going to mirror exactly what SRW is doing right across the world, and I think the right decision. But yeah, well. How did you find entering the corners here tonight? We found a lot of guys struggling with holding the lane. Talk to us about what it's like with the air buffeting the car in the middle of the corners, because when you're leading a lane, it's completely different to when you're buried in the pack.
Yeah, I didn't find it too bad. I think having that little bit of practice doing Talladega, I don't know what it looked like from the broadcast, but I felt like I was pretty consistent with my line. The hard thing was a lot of other people around the place moving very up and down, and then especially at the start with people trying to go 3 wide, which just seemed completely unnecessary. I understand people want to get through to the front, but it was a bit crazy, and people were still adjusting. It was that was hard. So I was sort of trying to lift off a little bit, give myself enough distance to be able to react and try and save some fuel. To be perfectly honest, because in the end, fuel ended up being a really important factor. So.
Mate, NASCAR overtime, a couple of weeks back to back. Braden Martin finally locks himself on the podium. Braden, your opportunity to thank all the people that support you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just shout out to all the Locked On lads and Leon and Jeremy and the Locked On Black Sheep Racing Cars. Sponsors Brewster.coffee. If you want to get your coffee fix, head on to Brewster.coffee and have a look and maybe give a rating to your favourite coffee place. And also just the Locked On iRacing podcast, which is sadly on a bit of a hiatus at the moment with everyone being really busy, but it's been awesome hearing all the positive feedback from people who are a bit sad that we're having a little break. And then, yeah, hopefully when things quiet down, we can be back bigger and better than ever.
All right, mate. It's been a pleasure having you here just about each and every week of the season so far. Missing out, in with a sniff just about every week, and finally it's ticked over on Super Speedway week. Congratulations, Braden. We'll see you again next week, mate.
Awesome. Cheers. And just shout out to you guys for series has been great. I've really enjoyed it.
Mate, that's fantastic. That's what we wanted to hear at the start of the season. So glad we've achieved our goals. All right, we'll see you next week, mate.
Thanks. Take it easy.
And I think we're about to talk to one of the happiest men in motorsport here tonight, Mr. Evan Horswell. If I'd have said to you when the race went green for the first time tonight, 67 laps later, you would be the SRW TV official Super Speedway champion for season number 1. Congratulations, mate. How's it feel?
Yeah, no, it was a good race. It was just a bit chaotic there at the start. I just sort of kept me stayed at the back there and tried to just keep the car in one piece.
It's a unique set of skills. We've talked about that every week about how the cars don't really rotate all that cleanly. Then you come to a track where you keep your foot pressed to the metal about 90% of the lap. It's a different skill set completely and utterly again. And I think there's been a fair few drivers tonight that's just been caught a little bit off guard about how you're racing too wide. You've never raced somebody too wide every lap of the race before, ever, have you?
No, I have, but yeah, a few times. But exactly, I know what you mean. I was a bit annoyed I caused that last yellow to bring the green-white checker out, but anyway, that's life.
Mate, look, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. The bad obviously did happen there, but how are you in terms of fuel?
I only had 0.4 of a litre left on that. So I would either run out on the line or, yeah, so that was the final move.
Well, talk to us about that, because you actually pitted on lap 60. So you did actually come back down pit lane to grab a splash.
And a fast repair.
And a fast repair. So you came
tyres
to get the tyres, everything. You came back in and you were like, guys, it's the end of the race, and I know we're going back out there. Let's get a full service on this thing. Yeah, and then the pit crew have done the job for you.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, like Dylan must have ran out of fuel because like I punted him, which was I didn't know, he just suddenly stopped in front of me, but luckily I managed to keep it straight, and unfortunately for Brandon.
Well, let's talk about that, because it's again unique skill set. When the pack checks up, that is one of the scariest things in racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. That's a perfect example of it on screen right there. Car 2 ahead of you checks up, the car of you checks up, and you don't have any reaction time whatsoever. It's, again, you've got to be watching 3 cars ahead of you, but you can only see 1.
Yeah, and that was the story all night. You just had to stay back. And hopefully you can, I avoided 4 wrecks, and then I think I hit a car on the pace lap because someone stopped in the middle of the pacing lap, which wasted one of my repairs. Yeah. It was a good fun night, though.
So, consistency wins out, looking after your machinery wins out, and Evan Horswell brings himself home as the Daytona winner. Congratulations, mate. Opportunity now for you to thank everyone that supports you. Yeah,
no, thanks to Man Up Swim Racing and Paul. It's good to race for him. It was good fun.
All right, mate. Sounds like you've got things to do in the morning, so we'll better let you get out and get some sleep and get some shut-eye. Congratulations, mate. Congratulations to the Man Up Sim Racing organisation, bringing home victory in the Sim Racing World Daytona 60-lapper.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks,
Good race, mate.
Nathan?
Yes, Scotty?
We've said unique all season long. I think tonight we mean it. There is nothing like Daytona, and, it wasn't the taste of Daytona that I wanted to give you at the tail end of the night, but if there's one thing I can be certain of, it's that Peter Morris has had a good taste of that wine.
Yeah, his sip-o-meter is definitely full. I'm sure he enjoyed the broadcast. And again, if everybody out there enjoyed this broadcast, please let us know by hitting the like, follow, and subscribe buttons. And we thank you so much for joining in and, just helping support us. And I'd also like to give a huge big shout out to DSL Welding Services, Dragonrc, and the promo department. Without their sponsorship, it would be very, very hard for us to keep this awesome broadcast going. So what an absolute race tonight at Daytona International, and that is going to wrap up the coverage tonight. I've been Nathan Shibby Howard with our encyclopedia of all things oval, Scotty Ranking, and I am saying good night, and thank you all for joining us.